Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. on the eve of Thanksgiving. And what better way to have two great gentlemen with me? Of course, Sean Kilrain, Mr. Bill Furman from EOP. Guys, it's the eve of Thanksgiving night. No football tonight, which is kind of weird for us on this week, but
Yeah.
tomorrow, college football, pro football, and another excellent weekend of college football coming up. So, gentlemen, how you guys been this weekend?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Doing
Doing great.
well. Doing great. Well, Bill, I want to start off with you because I'm envy of you because you froze your butt off that Floridian butt down in South Bend this weekend. Talk about that experience, and I know you left early. I would have probably done the same damn thing too, to be honest with you.
Well, we did. We left early, not because we couldn't handle it anymore, because Boston College forgot they had a game. They didn't show up. They were down 10-0 in the first 4+ minutes. 37-0 at halftime. It really didn't warrant sitting around we were hoping for a running clock or something like they're playing Little League.
The little mercy rule.
It was awful from the standpoint of the game. The environment, fantastic. Everything you hope for, as a college football fan, and the weather just made it even better. Wind chills were down around 10. It was snowing.
Wow.
It was flurrying before it started really snowing. But you know what? If you're a college football guy and you like that stuff, it was the environment. It was all about the environment.
Exactly. There is no way that anybody can ever call you not a college football fan, Bill.
That's right. Yeah, and cool thing too. You being Notre Dame guys, where our seats were, right next to the Notre Dame band. We were in the section.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Notre Dame band. And we were, I don't know, like 8 rows off the field, 10 rows off the field. The band was there. It was going on, so we were right in the middle of the whole thing. It was a lot of fun.
So you're pretty much in student body Notre Dame section too, correct?
Student body was on the other side.
Okay.
The other side of the band. Yeah. So we were in the end zone, right? Almost between the uprights, and they were right next to us on that angle there.
Wow. That's an experience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Watching the game, I thought it would be a little bit better. Notre Dame is very unpredictable, as we all know. We don't know, they're definitely a running team. We don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to step up. But I tell you, the first 4 minutes of the game, you're like, wait a minute. Okay, this is going to be a blowout. But then all of a sudden, Bill, that thunder, not thunder, I'm going to call it thunder of snow came in, and it looked like a Penn State whiteout game everywhere in the entire stadium.
Yeah, well, it was. It was. The thing about that game, talking about Notre Dame, Boston College was just so bad. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and say I think Notre Dame is going to win a national championship.
Right.
But I can tell you that was about as bad a half of football that anybody has played in a long time. And Notre Dame was getting after them. No, can't take anything away from them. But, the old saying, you're never as good as you think you are when you win, and you're never as bad as you think you are when you lose. Well,
absolutely.
Notre Dame, I think, has to not read their press clippings on that one because their opponent did not play very well.
Definitely 100%. I agree with you. True Notre Dame fans, as Sean, myself, and Joe, who's not here tonight, we look at it like, okay, we've seen what they are. They played down to a lesser competition. You beat the man in front of you, but don't get too hyped because you're going out to Southern California next week, and that's the test right there for you.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into it. Let's recap some games last week. We'll recap week 12. Sean, I'll start with you. What game caught your eye? I think we're pretty much gonna talk about the same games here, but I'll let you pop one out first.
Probably the Tennessee game with Malik Hooker. Hendon Hooker, I apologize. Losing him for the season with a torn ACL.
Yeah, he was a Heisman hopeful. He was up there in the Heisman candidacy, but man, it tells you like that game. But I got to talk about Spencer Rattler. My goodness,
get that. Wow.
Where was he? Yeah, where was he? When he went to Oklahoma, he was this prodigy child. Lost the job to Caleb Williams, got benched, and you go to South Carolina. Well, like, okay, you want to revitalize your career. You didn't do well, but yesterday, you put yourself on the map.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was fantastic. They were fantastic, and you like you say, you wonder where that bunch has been all along.
Right.
They've got Clemson this week. Can they carry any of that over? this week against Clemson, or was that just a one flash?
Yeah, because I mean, we haven't seen South Carolina back-to-back games. I mean, it's an up and down team all year.
Yeah.
You get a Heisman. He still is a Heisman candidacy, but in a new offense, new productivity, I don't think he is. But that's going to be a game to look for. How he's going to recap against Clemson here, a top defense, in the ACC and the NCAA. So we'll see how that can carry over. Definitely. Yeah. Bill, what game you got?
Well, I had that one also, but the USC UCLA game was,
was
also a good one.
How about that? Yeah.
An interesting one. I know we're going to get to the rankings, but we'll certainly talk about this a little bit more. But that was a touchdown for a touchdown for a touchdown for a touchdown for a long time.
Yeah,
it sure was. It sure was.
And I think as Notre Dame goes out there, it's going to be a challenge for them. But it's going to be a challenge for UCLA or USC because they're not going to put 50 up on Notre Dame. So
exactly.
And we'll get to that game a little bit later on too. But Caleb Williams, you mentioned him; he was fantastic. But they couldn't stop UCLA either. So
exactly.
Made it a great game, I thought.
I mean, when you have two quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, I mean, he put himself on the Heisman map. Like, this is me. I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I mean, he throws for 470, but then you got Dorian Thompson throwing for 309 as well. The only things that hurt him was his 3 picks. That was the only thing that killed him.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. You're talking about a 21-point swing right there on a touchdown for touchdown, as you said, Bill.
Yeah.
Yep. But man, I tell you that the funny thing is, like, USC lost Dye, their starting tailback as well for the season. But it seems like they didn't miss a beat. I mean, they just reload at running back and wide receiver. That's what they do.
Absolutely, and they got a whole herd of them, so they'll just bring in the next one. And as good as the last one. So, Notre Dame's going to have their hands full, but it's going to be a fun game, I think.
It is. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. My game was actually the TCU Baylor game.
Okay.
I think we're pretty much going to talk about all three, but that game was. It showed you what TCU is made of. They didn't bend. I mean, they bent, but they didn't break at times. They kept it close. And I tell you, I was, as a coach up here at Pop Warner, I was screaming at the TV, "You're not going to have enough time. You're not going to have enough time to get that field goal unit on the field." And just like the coach said, we practiced this. We practiced this with 20 seconds, 15 seconds. And that showed, it looked like a Chinese fire drill, but they took it like professional and got on the field, kicked it like they do it every 5 seconds. Insane. But I mean, do you think it was more TCU or was just Baylor a top-notch team? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I'll say I didn't get to watch that game because of the other game, but I did see the highlights, and I have watched Baylor and I have watched TCU. I think TCU is a pretty darn good team.
Yeah.
I thought Baylor gave them a run for their money, but actually, it was a little closer than I expected. I think one of the guys last week said they thought this would be a real close game. But I didn't think it'd be quite so close. But TCU, again, they did enough to get by, and they're in the hunt.
Yeah. Now there's a close game. I know we're going to get into BCS standings. We'll talk about next week's game, but BCS standings. This game here, Baylor was not in the top 15. Basically, they skate by a Baylor team. Does that hurt them before we talk about the BCS standings or no?
It's like a yes and no kind of thing because you got 1 and 2, Georgia and Ohio State. They're just playing out of their league. Michigan, they're up and down. 5, who's 5? Refresh my memory. 10,
LSU's 5.
I mean, they really don't impress me, like you said last week. They should be in there because they're, like Bill said, they're doing things you don't think they could do, and they got a lot of weapons, man. That quarterback, Huggins,
Dugan.
Yeah, Dugan. Just when you think you're those guys are out, here they come.
And it definitely shows in the fourth quarter you can be down, but TCU is never out of a game. They stay fundamentally sound, and they don't go out of the box. Kind of cliche saying, but they don't go out of the box. They practice what they do, and they do it on the field, and they don't get worried about it. They don't get frazzled. They continue to pound the ball if they want to run it. If the passing game's there, they do it. They don't get frazzled. That's the thing. it blows my mind about this team, because a lot of teams, when they go down, they abandon what they're best at,
Yeah. Well, and I think the rankings show that these losses by a lot or a little are. It depends who you are.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Tennessee got hammered for a second time, and they're still actually they're not going to make the finals, but they're not down as far as they should be.
Yeah, they're at 10. They're at 10 now, and it's just like, it's to me, it's like style points versus who you play, who you beat.
Yeah,
right. And I think like in the Penn State situation, they win 55-10. They just annihilate Rutgers, and they get beat.
Yeah,
they get jumped. You couldn't have played any better of a game. You beat the opponent that was on your schedule. What else more can you do? But you get jumped for some reason. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what any of that means anymore.
Me either. One day, Bill, I would like to be on the committee and just be a fly on the wall just to hear what the hell they say. Like, why do you think this team should be there? Well, this is the reason. I would love to hear what they say, honestly.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm with you.
Because I sometimes I look at that, the BCS ranking, and I'm like, what are they on something? Because that is not what I see, not at all. But hopefully one day that they'll let, an outsider on there. Bill will nominate you to get in there first.
I'll take it. I'd like to hear what they have to say too.
Exactly, right? I would love to be a fly on that wall. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah. But, was there any other games that caught your eye? There was a lot of great games, but I think my favorite probably was going to be that UCLA-USC game, because I love offense. I coach offense here. And it was just something, if you're an offensive guy, it was just two juggernauts going out that couldn't be stopped, honestly. But
yeah, I think so too. But I think it's they don't play a whole lot of defense out there in the Pac-12, and
no.
I think that's going to hurt them if USC does get in. If they get in as the 4 seed and end up playing Georgia, they better learn how to play defense in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's why I was called, from day one, I call it the wacky Wild West. They play no defense. They can put up, a half a ton of points, but they can give up, 3/4 of a ton of points, But it shows, just like you said, Bill, that team can score. But, if you're in a close game, a TCU game, can UCLA grind it out versus the number one defense like, as TCU does, or especially a Georgia? They know that they can score and score, but when you can't score, what does that do to your mentality on the field? And how do you win the game?
Yeah. Hey, the other game I wanted to throw out, it just popped back into my head. How about that Michigan-Illinois game? We talked about that was going to be a close game. I certainly thought it would be. And Illinois gave Michigan all they needed for sure.
And I tell you what, if I'm Ohio State, I'm looking at that game film and I'm saying, what did they do the best of? Because we know from top to bottom, we are better than the Illini. So what did they do? Let's go there and let's blueprint that to 100%.
And they have all the weapons, so it's like pick your poison. So like we said earlier.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Well, let's get into this week's games. I mean, this week's schedule here. I mean, week 13 coming up here. Top games. What do you guys see? I already know what's on my mind.
Go ahead.
That Notre Dame USC game. Finally, we're going out to Pasadena to play those Trojans. I'm kind of on the fence with this one, honestly. Of course, I would like to see Notre Dame knock USC out, but honestly, as a true fan, I just don't think Notre Dame has the firepower. Their defense is playing great. But right now, Bill, we have no passing game at all. It's just the running backs, looking great. And that USC front seven is pretty good. Their back end is kind of weak, giving up points. But I just don't think we have the power to stay with the USC team. Honestly, I really don't.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. But I think where Notre Dame can be big is on the turnover side.
True.
If the Notre Dame defense can create some situations for their offense, some shorter fields, and not get in a running match, a track meet. They don't need a track meet.
Exactly.
Notre Dame's probably going to lose. But if they can create some situations for themselves, I think they got a chance. And personally, as we get to the rankings, I'm going to say I hope they have a chance.
Yeah. If they get into a shootout, it could be USC a highlight film, honestly. But they've got to create some turnovers to keep it within a 7-point game real quick. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, we have to talk about Ohio State, Michigan as well. I think, it's at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a big one as well. And, they will be smacking each other in the mouth Big Ten style.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Did you hear anything on the Corum injury, Bill? Did you hear anything about that yet? Or
No, I have not.
Okay. Because they said he's questionable, but in a game, he said no matter what, he is playing this game. But I tell you, listen, you need him at 100% because he is 80% of your offense, So that's going to be a huge swing if he's not even 80%, what they're saying. So we'll see. But how do you see that panning out, Bill?
Well, I think I like Ohio State in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild card for me for Ohio State, I'm not sure that Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't the best player in the country.
Yes.
I don't know how you're going to cover him. And they have so many other things they can do. And then he makes a big play. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
And Stroud's good. I don't know that Stroud's is a Heisman winner.
No, I don't think so either.
But I think he's really good. They can run the ball. They're strong on front, strong on defense. Michigan is a little more one-dimensional, I think. But they can also control the trench like we talked about last week.
Exactly.
So I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the wild card to me.
I agree with you, Bill. I lived in Philadelphia for all his St. Joe's prep years, and I went to pretty much every game and watched his kid. And I tell you, the only thing that I thought in my mind was, his dad's pedigree. He's showing it. To me, he's a faster, stronger version of what his dad was. And I tell you, the downfall to me was how skinny he was, at prep. But I tell you, Bill, this kid, watching him now, I even said it right now. I bet a lot, and I already put down my Heisman Trophy for next year, and it's got to be Marvin Harrison. He's already been nominated for the Biletnikoff Award this year, which I definitely think he's a hands down candidate for that.
Yeah, as he should be, and I wouldn't be surprised if it were me. I'd have him going to New York for the Heisman. I don't know if he'd win it.
Number wise, Bill, he has to. I mean, he's one of the top receivers out there, and he draws more double teams and still gets open to this kid. You can just like one of the announcers, Herb Kerstreak was saying something. They're looking at him. There's two men on him. They have a safety over the top of him, and he's still getting the ball. The way he runs his slants, his progression tree is right now is NFL ready.
Yeah. And I'm not sure Heisman wise that there's anybody leaps and bounds that are going to win this thing. It's going to be wide open, and heck, why not him?
Yeah, might as well throw him in there. I mean, right now I'm looking at probably Caleb Williams. If he can get to the BCS champion, make it to the BCS somehow, winning outright because they played Notre Dame, and then it's going to come down to if Oregon wins, they're going to play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. That's going to be one hell of a game as well. If you can get through that gauntlet of the two games, you got to put Caleb Williams in there as top two. But C.J. Stroud, he's had good games. He's had bad games. Bryce Young is totally off the map right now. I wouldn't even put him in there. But you got to throw maybe a Harrison in there. Throw the dark horse in there, and put him in there because I tell you, I think a lot of people would vote his way.
Oh, I think so too. And I don't
what
know.
What about Bijan Robinson from Texas? Even though, did you guys talk about that while I was gone?
No, we didn't mention his name. What do you think about that, Bill?
Yeah, I mean he's a player too. He's certainly top five worthy. If they were going to take five guys, I would say he's in that mix.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this.
4 touchdowns last week. By the way, my bad.
Yeah. What was it? 448.
248 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Next Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. Talking about the Heisman real quick before we get into the standings here. Mm-hmm. Well, do you really have to be on a winning team or a BCS contending team to win that Heisman? Or can you be someone out there? Because in the beginning of the season, Sean, you remember I said Vaughn probably. That was my dark horse, or Marvin Harrison would be my dark horses, or Sam Hartman. I don't. Only one I can see that now is a Caleb Williams because he is top 6. But can a Bijan Robinson, being on a team outside the top 15, does he have that capability to jump with his stats, not being a team?
Yeah, I would think so. But like you said, it's all that glamour with the Georgia, the Ohio State teams. But yeah, I would love to see a Cinderella guy, a sleeper. Do you guys agree? I mean, there's a lot out there that don't get the recognition, like you said. And it would be awesome to put them on that big stage, to have them be recognized, not only them, but the college itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what? Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to say, so many of these quarterbacks for the big schools get all the hype. I mean, your year would have to be just tremendous. You know, it'd have to be off the charts. And then they'll say, well, you know, they lost 5 games or 4 games or whatever. You know, how valuable was he really? Well, is it a value award or is it a best player award, the Heisman?
Exactly. That's what I look at. You know, what is it? What is it? Is it a team award being your best player on your team? You're the best player in a top 10 team? Because I'll tell you a story about maybe about 15 years ago, I put a dark horse bet on Chang when he played from Hawaii. Remember the quarterback for him?
Yes.
He threw for over 5,000 yards with like 4 picks the entire season. So anonymous, a crazy number on touchdowns. I put money on him. He wasn't even mentioned in the top 10.
Right.
You know, what is it? Is it number one? I just don't get it. Sometimes I really don't, because to me, the best player out there could be put on any team. It doesn't matter. You can carry your team if your stats are good. That's what the Heisman means to me.
No argument from me. Yeah, it's a hard award, but it's pretty much going to go to that same group of guys, those big school quarterbacks, running backs. They're going to be the guys. You're not going to, you're not going to sneak a North Carolina quarterback in to win the Heisman.
No, you're not going to get that Derek May or that Sam Howell from a year ago. You know,
right?
Yeah.
You know, I would like to go back to the days of Desmond Howard winning it, a defensive player winning a Heisman Trophy. That's what, to me, it's like, okay, he's the best player. He's a shutdown person. Let's give him the award. Who cares about who you play, what position you play? Hands down, the best player gets it.
Yeah, and there's some good defensive players out there.
Definitely.
There is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That just leads me into something else I just thought of. What was the last Heisman Trophy winner to you that you thought was just a ludicrous vote that shouldn't have got it?
Wow.
Ludicrous.
Gino Torretta.
I don't even know if that's the right word, Bill. I just came up with that word trying to feel smart.
Well, no, I'm thinking ludicrous, or just I thought that shouldn't have got it.
Shouldn't have got it, yeah.
Gino Torretta?
Well, you're going way back, huh?
I'm going through the head.
Well, I had to tell you a story because Gino is a personal friend of mine.
Uh-oh.
So, okay. On that note, no.
You know, there's a lot. It kind of goes to our other discussion we were just having. You know, Marshall Faulk was number 2 that year. Marshall Faulk team was 5-5. Gino's team was 13-0. They lost the national championship game after being undefeated the year before with him at quarterback. Marshall Faulk's team, Marshall put up great numbers at San Diego State. Lost a handful of games, didn't play the competition, and didn't win the Heisman. And Gino did. Gino had a great team, and he had a great season. But a lot of people look at it as, hey, because he didn't play in the NFL, he shouldn't have won the Heisman. But in reality, Marshall Faulk didn't play near the competition that Miami did that year or have the results. So back to the other discussion, he falls out and Gino went in. So, but I start that out by saying me and Gino are personal friends. So, so I certainly support him. We weren't friends back then. We've become friends over the years, many years since, for probably 20 plus years.
Wow. That's insane. Yeah. I was just wondering that because, you know, some players out there, we look at it as fans. You know, a lot of people look at it through the eyes of, wow, this team is 11-0. It's because of this guy. Well, you know what? If you put that guy on this team, how does he showcase the other team? That's the way I look at it. You know, you never know out there because there is so many people, just like, you know, you said, Bill, these defensive players, there's many that we can name that deserve at least a mention out there, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the other one at the time was a bigger deal probably than it ended up being because they both ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Charles Woodson over Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Was, you know, there was an awful lot of discussion about that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I want to mention one name. I know both you guys are, you the bleed the green, and you guys, are 9-1 in division, top in the league. Devontae Smith. I heard a lot of things about his Heisman candidacy. Did he deserve it that year, or was he a product of a system with probably, arguably, maybe one of the best receiving corps in the NCAA history?
Well, he had a great year.
He did.
He had a great year on a great team, and he was their best player. Mm-hmm. So I would say from that standpoint, yes, he deserved it. Now, to go to the whole Alabama is manufacturing football players down there, whether it's that running back room they had with all them Heisman winners and Alvin Kamara there and all those other guys. I mean, they could pick Heisman from every position on the field just about because they had, they were producing that kind of great player. So, I would say that year Smith was the best player on the best team.
Okay, I was wondering that, hearing from people, because I remember watching that draft. It's just insane when you see two players in New York, Mac Jones and Devontae Smith, in the same room from the same team. Two of the top 3 players in the country, being voted for the Heisman Trophy. That tells you a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this real quick. Let's talk about the BCS standings here. It's I don't think anyone's ever going to get it right, but I think the committee is going to have one hell of a time after this week and the weeks coming up to get this right. Thank God they got 2 or 3 more weeks before the BCS, final countdown. But let's talk about it. Now, number 10, let's talk about Tennessee. Okay. 2 losses. They were blown out by Georgia. Let's take away style points because there was no style involved in that game. Do you think they are below 10, or do they sit exactly where they're at?
They're too high.
I agree.
Looking at the teams below them, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, was this an SEC thing? I mean, they play in a top division here, so we got to give them a little credit. Every week is a battle ridden foe. Do you think that's why?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I don't know if we're going to get to Penn State. They're at 11, right?
I believe yes, they're 11.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
But I'll throw the Penn State out there. You have Penn State losses to number 2 and number 3.
Right.
And then you have 2 Tennessee blowouts. One to an unranked South Carolina. Yes. And you have Tennessee ahead of Penn State. Tennessee's got to go.
I agree with that. I'm not a Penn State fan, but I think Penn State overrides them. And just like you said, you lose to 2 and 3 in the country. You're not blown out by any means, except for the Michigan game. That was clear. But you know what? You didn't get blown out by a South Carolina team that, nobody even knows that they still even play football anymore.
Right.
But I agree. I just don't think Tennessee should be there. I think they should be around, I would say the top 15. I'll probably put them at 13 or 14 because there's no way they can be ahead of a Penn State team right now. No way.
I agree.
Not in my eyes. Let's talk about number 9, Oregon.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of love this week with their win.
Yeah.
I think they're probably about where they should be. Maybe 10, 9, somewhere right in there.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that one. I mean, it's going to come down to them this week. I believe they play Oregon State this week, and that's no gimme either. Oregon State the Beavers can play some ball. What better way that you play your state rivals, and what better way to knock them out of the BCS, talk. So why not? In that wacky Wild West, you never know what the hell's going on out there. You never know. But yeah, I'm probably going to put them at 9. Now let's talk about number 8, Clemson. The ACC, hands down, probably the best team in the ACC, sitting at 8. What do you guys think there?
I think
I'm going to say they are a little low. They're a little low. They should be a little higher.
I agree.
A little better. They should be a little better.
Yeah, go up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because Clemson, they're playing this week. They're playing South Carolina this week. Yep. And then they have the back-to-back game with North Carolina. So their schedule's not that easy either. And North Carolina is no cakewalk. And then you have the ACC championship as well.
Yeah,
so
one loss on the road at Notre Dame.
Exactly. You know how big a Notre Dame fan they are right now. That's that strength of schedule. They're right rooting for them Saturday. Well, the game will be after the Clemson game, but they want Notre Dame to beat USC for that strength of schedule, of course, to solidify their name. But I think they're probably – I'm going to have them right around 8 as well. Now, this is a team that kind of gets me. USC at 6. I think they're a little bit – I think they should be ahead of LSU.
You skipped Alabama at 7.
Is Alabama 7?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right. I did write that down. You're right. 100%. I'm sorry about that.
And I only say that because of my conspiracy theory that I have going on. So here's my conspiracy theory. All right.
Hey, BCS committee, if you're listening to this, you better take notes because Mr. Freeman is talking right now.
There you go. Write it down. So Notre Dame goes out there and beats USC. USC's out. Georgia is going to beat LSU. LSU's out. Michigan or Ohio State is going to lose. Somebody's out, and they're going to stick Alabama in that 4 hole. That's why they're number 7.
You know what, Bill? The funny thing is, I've sat here like when I can't sleep at night, which is usually every night. I sit here on my pad and just like, okay, here we go. 1 versus Georgia's going to beat LSU, the championship game. We could keep Georgia there at 1. LSU just scratch them out. They drop. And then, Michigan, Ohio State, depending on how close that game is, if it's a blowout, the other teams say bye-bye.
Yeah.
TCU, if you win, you're in. But then there's an always circle, just like you said, Bill, with that Alabama lurking. Because, Nick Saban, he has that, like, Jedi mind trick. Like, yes, we lost 2 games, but we're
it's
Alabama.
Like that spider creeping up on you. You're right.
That's right. And as we said last week, they lost 2 close games, both walk-off games.
Exactly.
So it's not like they shouldn't be in the hunt. They just shouldn't be this close in the hunt with 2 losses.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Bill, we all, are – I'm biased against Alabama. I can't stand Alabama. I love the talent there, of course. I'm not going to knock them for what they do. But Alabama's the type team. We've seen it. Georgia beats them. And then what happens? Alabama just comes out of nowhere, and it's a different team. Nick Saban turns it on, and it's just something like, wow, where was this team when they played this team in the regular season in the SEC? Now we see them like they don't stand a chance. They're 10-point underdogs, and they win by 30. So Alabama's just licking their chops like, okay, please, this team lose. All we have to do is win our last game, and guess what? All we have to do is beat Auburn. We're not in the SEC championship game. Let the BCS committee think about what they're going to do correctly or incorrectly.
Sure. That's right. Why? In the meantime, if we're nicked up, we're getting healthy while the other team's playing.
Exactly. So you know what they're thinking? LSU and Georgia go out and beat the hell out of each other. We don't care. Yeah. We're sitting at home. Enjoying sitting in the hot tub.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, where USC? What do you guys think about them?
I'm going to say that they should probably be 5.
I agree with that one. I agree.
Totally agree.
I mean, their schedule is coming up. I mean, Notre Dame, and then if Oregon wins through, they're going to play Oregon in the championship game. And if you beat those 2 teams, you have to be top 4. There's definitely going to be top 4 because of that Michigan-Ohio State game. That's going to be the one game that one of those teams are knocking out. And that 4 spot is definitely going to be open for one team from 5 to 10 somewhere in the rankings.
Yeah, and they have 1 loss by 1 point on the road at Utah. Utah is what 14. It looks like.
Yeah.
14, 8-3. Yes.
Yeah.
So. And that's going to be something there. I mean, the committee might have an easy way out of this, but I think it's going to come down to, just like you said, Bill, Alabama's licking their chops sitting where they're at, and they're just like, well, they lose. Are we a better team? Look at our schedule. We lost 2 late second games. That's how we lost.
Yeah.
These other teams have been blown out. How can you put a Tennessee in there? How can you put Clemson? They lost to an unranked basic Notre Dame team, blown out. So it's gonna be kind of weird. Now let's talk about LSU. I think they're too high, honestly.
Yeah, too high.
Oh yeah.
I think they're riding on this Alabama win to showcase what they were, and I will use the word were, not are, were.
Absolutely,
not true.
I agree
with that team. Absolutely.
I think they're too high. I definitely think they're too high. I mean, they have Texas A&M this week, and you know what? Before the season started, I was like, well, this is going to be one hell of a game. But Texas A&M, do they even have a football team this year? Honestly,
wow.
Yeah, wow, that's exactly
Wow.
Yeah.
They get
Yes.
my biggest wow.
Yeah, and you know
Yeah.
what? Beginning of the season, I talked on here, Bill. I talked on the show, and I was like, man, I can't wait for the Saban. Oh my God, it's a real blank of the
Jimbo.
coach. What's the Yep,
Jimbo.
yep, Jimbo Fisher. That all the rivalry, all the crap talking they had about the recruiting wise and all this. I
Yeah.
circled that game, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe Texas A&M might even not have a winning record this year. That's insane to me.
They're not going to a bowl.
They're not even going. They're not even bowl eligible yet.
No, they're not going to be. Right?
Mhm.
They don't even have 5 wins, I don't think.
No, I think they're at what 4-6, I believe, if that. Yeah. But I tell you, like that, and the funny thing is, I don't know, Bill. We talk about recruiting a lot, like especially you being down in Florida. They have the 5th recruiting class next year. I tell you what, there might be a lot of transfers and decommits in this Texas A&M system.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all sorts itself out because something bad has gone wrong. Jimbo Fisher's a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of his because of the shenanigans he did at Florida State. But he could coach.
Mm-hmm.
And something's amiss in College Station.
Yeah, big time. I want to see, after the season ends, when you get your recruits, your verbal commits, your early commits, I want to see how many decommits are, going that way. And I tell you, like the 5th recruiting class in the nation, by Texas A&M, I thought they're like, okay, well, they're rebuilding here. You got Jimbo. He's going to rebuild it. He's going to give Alabama. He's going to give Georgia a run. Well, it didn't look that way this year. And I tell you what, commits look at how you win and who you play and where you sit. Yeah. So
they were 4-7 in their conference.
4-7. Well, that's unheard of. That is unheard of from an A&M team.
Yeah.
Unheard of. Yeah. Well, what do you guys think about TCU? I definitely think they should be right where they're at. I mean, we've talked about how they play. They win who's in front of them, and they don't care how they beat you. They just beat you.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good spot for them.
I agree.
I'm right there.
Well, let's talk about the Big Ten. 50% of the top 4 is Big Ten here. We got Michigan and, of course, Ohio State at 2, but let's talk about Michigan.
Well, I'm going to take the approach on this game. I think the more I've thought about it, that whoever loses this game, I'm going to give them 10 points. If they stay within 10, they should be ranked in the top 4.
Okay.
Just because you happen to lose the last game of the season isn't any worse of a loss than the second game of the season. It just happens to be at the end of the season. You're going against, if you're going to either lose to number 2 or lose to number 3. And if you're Michigan and you lose it on the road, that's another thing. I'm going to say at the end of the day that let's say Ohio State wins. Michigan goes to 4, TCU goes to 3, and we go from there.
Okay. You're giving that 10-point cushion. You're giving a 10-point cushion. Okay.
We're giving a little cushion.
All right. What do you got, Sean? What do you think about that?
I totally agree with Bill. I mean, now with Michigan losing Quorum, if I'm saying his last
name. He said he's questionable. Is he definitely out or what? Because I heard he's like 80%.
But I don't know the severity of it. Okay. But that you can put into question. And just like I said earlier, Ohio State's just stacked all over. Front to back, offense and defense, and whatever they got, they're going to give it to them. And I totally agree with what Bill said earlier.
Okay, yeah, I agree with the 10-point window. I'm probably going to be a little less. I'm probably going to say like a 6 to 7-point window. Okay. Now, let me answer you guys real quick. I will talk about Ohio State, but if Corum is not eligible to play with his injury, and they get beat by 20 points, how far do they drop? Knowing that their best player, their workhorse, 80% of their offense is not playing. And he could possibly be back for, let's just say, a BCS showdown. How far do they drop with that, like a 15 to 20-point loss?
I think we have to see how the game is played. I think you'd actually have to watch it. I mean, do they pull a Boston College? Do they just stink the place up?
Yeah, true. Then they really drop.
Or do they? Is it a battle and they just don't? They just can't compete. I think, again, I always go back to Penn State because I watch them every week. The Penn State-Ohio State game on paper looked like an Ohio State blowout. Penn State was winning that game with 4 minutes to go. If you were watching the game, if you're just reading the newspaper or your iPad, on paper it looks like a blowout. So I think you got to see how that game plays out if that were to happen.
Yeah, I get that a lot. A lot of people, that I talk to, they're like, "Oh man, I didn't see the game, but how they win that close?" I'm like, "Well, you didn't see the eye test. You can't read stats. You can't be a stat reader or a Monday morning quarterback and look at the stat machine and say, wow, they ran for this or this, they did this." Well, you gotta enjoy the 4 quarters of the game. That's why we play 4 quarters, because it doesn't, stats don't mean a damn thing, at all versus the score. So that's a true statement.
Funny, on a different subject, different sport. I was talking to a guy about the Flyers game the other night. It's 3-2 with 40 seconds to go. They give up 2 empty net goals. It's up 5-2, and I'm hearing from my buddy who didn't watch the game. Man, how can they stinking up 5 goals? They need a new goaltender. You didn't watch the game. It was
exactly.
With
you don't get a pass.
All they're doing is reading the score and making an assumption.
That's like, Bill, I bet a lot, and I don't bet hockey a lot for the exact reasons that you said right there, because usually the goals are like -1.5 or minus, half. And I'll be sitting there, looking at my bet like, okay, the Flyers are up, they're up, they're whatever, it's like 3-2 or whatever. And there's 2 empty net goals. Or the over under. I'm like, how the hell they get 2 goals in like 20 seconds here? Then I look at it like, oh, empty net. Here we go.
That's right.
Yeah, hockey is something I cannot bet on. I just don't. I plus I don't watch enough of it either, honestly. But let's talk Ohio State. I mean, loaded. Let's talk loaded first. On both sides of the ball, we'll talk about the game itself, but Ohio State, clearly, I think they sit at 2. They are definitely below Georgia, as we know. But let's flip the script here. Are we going a 6-point window with them as well, being that they're the more loaded team and pretty much the favorites there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Again, we'll see how the game is played. You would think they should win at home, but you're playing number 3. Anything can happen, and especially in this rivalry game. So, I'm going the same way. The only thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to line them up against each other again, in the playoff.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always wondered about the BCS. They don't want to see the rematch until the final game. They don't want to put you sitting Georgia, versus Alabama, first game of the season. Which kind of got me mad a couple years ago when it was Clemson Notre Dame. We already played that year. Why are you putting us together again? Give us a different grouping. I understand the rankings, but come on, let's make it a little bit different here, But so Georgia, now they don't have a test this year coming up. They have Georgia Tech this week. That's pretty much a layup game. I don't want to call anything a layup, but to me, it's a layup game. Yeah. Then you have LSU. Do they stumble between these 2 games?
I don't see it. I think if Georgia and I don't know why I feel this way about the kid, because all he does is win. But the quarterback to me is not necessarily their strength. He manages the game. He makes some big plays, but he's the guy that can get them beat, I think, more than anything.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, you really think about the Ohio State productivity of a quarterback. It's not quarterback you. We already know that. You have to go back to years and years. Of course, you have Justin Fields doing his little, I don't want to say his thing yet. He's still learning the game of NFL, situation. But you look at the past quarterbacks, they're game managers in a college system. And it all comes down to them. They turn the ball over, Ohio State goes down pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, are you familiar with Kyle McCord?
I know the name. Where is he from?
He was the quarterback for Prep with Marvin Harrison.
Yes.
At the same time, they went to Ohio State. Now, this to me is a kid that can throw the rock and keep you in a game, but he's 3rd on the depth chart. And I'm hearing that Ohio State has this new quarterback coming in, the 2nd-rated quarterback in the nation coming in next year as a freshman. And I feel bad for McCord. He's never going to get the time to play, on a team. So I don't know.
What's his eligibility now? Is he still a sophomore by eligibility?
He's still a sophomore. Yeah, he's a sophomore this year. He'll be a junior next year, but they haven't redshirted him at all. So I don't know. I just think he's going to transfer. But he's that type of kid that goes for the portal. Yeah, he's that type of kid that goes for the education. He's not in for the limelight, But I tell you, I think Ohio State is just hands down the best team in the division. I think they beat Michigan, but let's talk about future here. Okay, we know Georgia plays LSU. We already have Georgia going. Ohio State, Michigan. The winner of that, we already talked about that 10-point cushion as we see it. TCU. Now they have Iowa State. What do you guys think about that this week?
Yeah, they should win that game.
They should win that game. Okay.
Yeah.
Now they will be playing in the Big 12 championship against Kansas State. Now, Kansas State we know can score. Their defense is solid. They have a great passing game and a great running game with Vaughn. Do you guys see that as a slip up for TCU? Because one game TCU loses, even in the championship, the Big 12, they're gone. They're done.
Absolutely.
Do you think
they're not going to get the
yeah?
They're not going to get that special treatment.
Yeah, they're not going to get that one loss asterisk saying you lose a game, you can still be in. You lost by 1 point, but I'm sorry, Yep. But I see them winning both games against them. Now, Tennessee still has a shot as well. Oh, Tennessee's gone. Let's not even talk about them. LSU. The only thing they can do is, of course, they play Vandy. Or I'm sorry, Tennessee. Yeah, they play Texas A&M. Yep, they beat Texas A&M. That should be a easy win for them. Now, if they beat Georgia, how does that solidify their record being a 2-loss team?
They got to be in.
Yeah.
Do they jump?
If you're going to leave them here at 5 and they beat number 1, they got to go. They got to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
now
can't go down. Yeah,
that's what I think Alabama's hoping for, a Georgia win, knocking out LSU. Of course, I mean it's more like a chain of I want you to lose. We need this help. We need you. We don't need you. Because if LSU beats Georgia, Alabama is totally out of the question. We agree with that one,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now USC, if they beat Notre Dame this week, they beat Notre Dame. And they beat an Oregon team in the Pac-12 championship. How high do they jump up versus let's just say a LSU that beats Georgia in the SEC championship? A 2-loss team versus a 1-loss team, but we beat the number 1 team in the nation. How do you guys feel?
I see them moving up one spot.
For LSU, even if LSU beats Georgia and USC runs the table, Notre Dame and Oregon in the championship, do you put them past LSU, even though they beat the number 1 team in the SEC championship?
No, because of how they played and their strength of schedule.
Okay.
I'm trying to sort out everything you said. If LSU beats Georgia, they're going up. If USC, did you say USC wins out and beats Oregon?
Yes, in the Pac-12 championship, being a 1-loss team to Utah by 1 point. Versus a LSU team that has beaten the number 1 team in the SEC championship. Where do you rank those two? Who's higher?
I think they both go up, and then that Michigan Ohio State loser is going to have to go out.
That's a good scenario as well. Yeah,
I mean, if you're beating teams above you in championship games, I think you got to be in.
Do you put that winner of the Ohio State Michigan over Georgia in the last rankings if they lose in the SEC championship?
The winner?
The Ohio State Michigan, this game here. Do you put them at 1? If let's say the last week Georgia loses to LSU?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if that happens, we're looking at
sure it does. If all these other things you're talking about happen, I'm not sure Georgia doesn't end up on the outs of the whole 4.
That's what I want to ask you. If they play Georgia Tech this week and they outright win that game, and LSU somehow blows this game out and they beat Georgia, how far does Georgia go down with a 1 loss all year long, being the front runner of everything all year? How far do they drop?
Well, I think if USC does what you said, they go up. LSU goes up, TCU goes up, and Ohio State, if they won, they're there. There's your 4.
Yeah, I just can't wait. I think we just fast forward to the last week of the season here and let's just get this done so we know who's playing who. But wow, yeah, I can't wait for this weekend. I mean, the committee has some tough sledding to go in a couple more weeks here. So,
and the crazy thing about that is somewhere lurking back down there, you still would have a 12-1 Clemson team.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and the only loss is to a Notre Dame. That was, I think they were 18 at the point. That say, hey, one blowout loss. Every dog has its bad day. But you got to keep us in the mix too. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of losses though to jumble in there to really make chaos.
It is.
For sure.
If you're sitting there in your war room, in a college, then you're sitting there like, okay, guys, this is what we need. We need this team to lose. Okay, we need this team to lose. Now, if this team wins, we jump over to tier B. This is what we need to happen here. It's just, oh man, I tell you, it's like a draft day session. It definitely is. Oh man. But what, guys, listen, it is Thanksgiving, so let's do something a little here outside the box as we are. Bill, give me your top 2 Thanksgiving Day dishes that you have to have is a must in the Furman household.
Well, with not including the turkey because that's just given. And I'll even put the stuffing with the turkey.
Okay, that's good. There we go.
Okay.
So I'm going sweet potatoes and cranberry sauce.
Oh, cranberry sauce! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Bill.
Back when I was a kid, you used to get the can of cranberry sauce. Everybody even cranberries, and then everybody needed. Then I'd eat all the rest. Okay. I love cranberry sauce.
Mm-hmm. Now you're the can guy, right? You're the what is that? Ocean Spray can? Is that
whatever?
What
I don't even remember now.
Okay.
But
it's Ocean Spray. That's a big staple in my
house. Even if it's the real stuff, that's even better. But I'll take it all.
Yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, I hated this stuff because you take it out of the can. I remember my mom, she used to open the can and get like not a fork, a knife and just go around it and just shake the whole thing. And it's just like, what the hell is this? And then she just goes with the knife and cuts it and it just like falls over. You're like, I'm not eating that. But now, Bill, you're right. It is something you have to have.
Rings on it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's how my mom knew how to cut it because the rings were there. Everybody got a uniform piece. Yeah. But
and
now
you cut it with a butter knife too, which is
exactly.
That's right.
Now you can't.
Go.
Now you cannot go Thanksgiving without cranberry sauce. It's like
that's right.
I went to a house a couple years ago, and we were sitting there eating, and I'm looking around, I'm like, he's like, "What's wrong, Paul? Are you missing something? You need some butter? What do you need?" I'm like, "Where's the cranberry sauce?" And he's like, "Cranberry sauce?" I'm like, "Yeah." I actually went to the Safeway and got a can of cranberry sauce just for myself, and nobody ate it.
There you go.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. They're like, "We're not eating this."
That's shocking, man. That's a staple in my
that's right.
my household.
Mm-hmm.
Here too.
Yeah,
Here too.
I love it, and I love the sweet potatoes. Oh my God, that was one of mine, Bill, as well. Sean, what do you got? What's your favorite 2 top dishes?
I have to say mashed potatoes and some corn. It could be cream of corn or whatever.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
mix it up with I like mixing up with the mashed potatoes. So
there you go. Have a complete bowl, huh? Turkey bowl.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
My 2, I think Bill took. I mean, I love cranberry sauce. This is something I have to have every year. It's just the taste of it and the texture that you have to have. And to me, I have to have sweet potatoes with the little marshmallows on top. I have to have that. That's something I have to have every year.
Yeah.
But yeah, now. Man, we should all get together and have a damn dinner. At least we got some damn cranberry sauce,
That's right.
At least I know where to go. I know Bill has it. But let me ask you, what is your most underrated dish and your most overrated Thanksgiving Day dish? We'll go with overrated first.
Well, I was going to say the things that I like the least overrated for me in Thanksgiving, Sean, I hate to tell you this, is mashed potatoes and corn.
Wow.
I eat that all the time. I eat that
Wow.
every week. So,
wow.
If I'm at Thanksgiving dinner and I have sweet potatoes and I have mashed potatoes, guess what, pal? I'm going sweet potatoes all day.
Okay.
So,
well, you can have a little bit of both,
and I like both mashed potatoes and corn and cream corn, especially, and I mix them all up too.
Yes.
I do that about once a week.
There you go.
Yeah,
okay. Bill wants the things that he's not having every day for Thanksgiving. So listen.
I got you.
Oh boy! Wow. Well, what do you got, Sean? What's your most overrated and underrated dish for you?
Underrated would be string bean casserole.
That's something I never got into. I've never got into
it. If somebody does it right and my wife makes it right, it's off. It's awesome.
Wow.
You gotta make it right. And overrated. There's nothing. Probably nothing, man. I just love the whole Thanksgiving thing, man. To be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think my most underrated. A lot of people, this is just a taste of me. I love deviled eggs. I just don't know, but you have to make them right. I see so many people put a little bit of topping on there, put paprika, all these different things on there. I have to have it my way. My girlfriend makes them, so whatever she makes I love it.
Now, how do you guys make them?
I don't make them. She makes them. I cook everything else. She does them.
I
My
can't.
mom and my wife put paprika, like you said. And
Yeah,
it's
and there's some
just-
kind of a celery seed or something, or I forgot what the heck it is, or something. on top. I don't know what it
no
is.
celery seed. Just however they make it with just
Mhm.
straight paprika. And
Okay.
it's
Yeah, however she
good to
makes them
go.
is the way I love them. I'll
Okay.
sit there and eat like a dozen of them just sitting there, you know. But to me, my most overrated probably. Oh boy, it's hard because I love all the food, you know.
There you
I
go.
really do. I don't think I do have one because I enjoy all the food. I think everything is
Yeah.
there. You know, I'm the type of person,
Yeah.
if I don't like it, I'm going to try it anyway just to see if I like it or not.
That's
You know,
right.
and that's the worst thing. You pick up something you don't like, and how do you react to them? They're looking at you, and you're like, it's not really that good, you know, but I have to eat everything, honestly. But the
Absolutely.
last thing is, what is your favorite dessert for Thanksgiving? Pie, cake, whatever you have. What's your best, sitting
Apple
there?
pie and ice cream
Apple pie and ice cream.
with a
Okay.
side
Okay.
piece of pumpkin pie and whipped cream.
Boy, you got the side cake
Yep.
too, Bill.
Yeah. Me and
It's
Bill are thinking
Thanksgiving,
like, yeah,
right?
you got to have the pumpkin pie with some Cool Whip or the
Mhm.
Ready Whip. Yep.
Right.
Coconut custard's big.
Hmm.
Lemon meringue. You know.
Man, my
Yeah.
favorite has to be the sweet pecan pie. I love sweet
Yeah.
pecan pie. It's just something about it. Just
Yeah,
I have
it's
to have
sweet,
that extra
man,
crunch, and yeah, exactly. I have to have that. But late at night, my snack is eating a turkey sandwich while it's a little bit cold, on there.
Yep.
Then right after that, going to get that pumpkin pie in the refrigerator, throwing a little whipped cream on top of that, and boom, we're ready to go. And that's right after the 8 o'clock football game for me. That's when I'm dead to rights, and I'm about to crash out till the next day.
I'm all about the Friday turkey stuffing and cranberry sandwiches.
Okay.
Wow. Now let me ask you guys real quick before we get out of here. Do you fry your turkey or do you bake your turkey? How do you guys do yours?
Bake it.
You bake it, okay?
Yeah, we actually always bake it, but we got it fried this time with a friend of ours
Now,
owns
how
the
is that?
barbecue
Do you
pit.
like it? Is it much better than the traditional way? You think,
it's the same. It tastes a little bit different, but they're both really good.
Okay.
And since it's just me and my wife this year, since all the boys are away, we had our friend that owns the barbecue pit make them for us. They're
wow.
already here. They're ready to go.
Wow.
And so it's just going to be the
That
two of us.
turkey's
So
nice and moist, man. That's what it's
that's
all
right.
about. You don't want no dry turkey. That's my dad always
That's right.
said.
So
Exactly.
make it a
Exactly.
little easier on my wife cooking it this time around for just the two of us.
Yeah, that's the way it is. My kids they're in Florida this week, all weekend. So it's just me, Katie, and my niece, Chelsea. So we're having a small little turkey. We're going to bake ours. I remember, all I do is just put the seasonings on it, clean it all up, make it nice and clean. And then I put it in my Reynolds bag and just tie it up and put it in my oven and let it go,
Let it go. That's
Yep.
it.
But before we get out of here, I think both of you coming in here, but let's just do this real quick. Guys, it's Thanksgiving out there. It's the time to be blessed of what we have in our life, give it forward. Bill, I'll let you go first. Who do you want to give a shout out to? Anybody out there that you would like to say happy Thanksgiving or anything out there too for you?
Well, I tell you, my family, obviously, like you say, none of them are here. One is in Indianapolis, one is in Utah, and one is in Delaware. My three boys, my grandchildren are in Delaware. So we'll miss them, but we're going to see them soon. But certainly shout out to them as well.
Great. What about you, Sean?
My family, my mom, my in-laws, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, all close friends and family, man. Just have a great Thanksgiving and a safe one.
Yep.
Enjoy
I agree
the
with you
rest of
100%.
your day.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. It's all about the family here, and to my friends that I've met through doing this podcast here. Bill, I never had the privilege of meeting you. We've talked, on EOP many of times. Sean, I've never met you, but to you guys, to me, you guys are a family to me. And of course, my family out there, my girlfriend Katie. Without her, I wouldn't be here today. She's turned my life around. And of course, to everybody out there, just don't judge a book by its cover. There's a lot of people out there that don't have anyone during this time. So, pay it forward. You could always be in their shoes. So stay positive to everybody out there and, give a handshake. Do what you can to someone that you don't even know out there. Just be kind every day, but especially on Thanksgiving because you don't know their story as well. So that's just me.
And most importantly, as you said, enjoy your family. In my case, my parents are gone. My in-laws are gone.
Mine too.
And you sure wish you could have a couple of those days back, but that's just not the way it works. And
Yes.
so enjoy them, enjoy every day. And, all this little petty nonsense that a lot of times goes on between families and all that, man, bury that stuff. Bury it,
Exactly.
bury it. Be the big person and do the right thing.
Yep. And Bill, I appreciate you saying that, because I put something on Facebook and you put me in my place right away. The way I said it, I forgot what, about it being a boss. You remember? Well, I said something like, you said, be the bigger man, don't put it that way. And I'm like, you're right. So I appreciate you, doing it. No, it's perfectly fine. You put me in my place and I enjoyed how you did it. So definitely 100%. But before we get out of here real quick, we're going to pay a little homage to our sponsors real quick and our upcoming shows. So enjoy the video for about 45 seconds and we'll be right back on. All right, guys, listen, we're about to wrap this up. For myself, Paul Spencer, Sean Killer Kilrain, and Mr. Bill Furman from EOP, we would like to say thank you for tuning in. As always, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week. So enjoy your turkey time, eat well, be kind, and have fun with your family. So, guys, I appreciate you hopping on. And, Bill, hopefully, the door's always an invite ready for you anytime. You know that.
Appreciate that, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your families.
All right, gentlemen, we'll see you next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.